All right, I want you to take a look at these images. A new Russian attack in Ukraine has killed at least 2 people and injured nearly a dozen others. This happened in the eastern city of Lazova. The latest overnight bombardment comes as Ukraine says it found components from India in Russian drones used to attack the country. Now, as the fighting continues, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to travel to Moscow this week for talks. President Trump's deadline for the Kremlin to reach a ceasefire agreement looms in just a matter of days. It's Friday, but Vladimir Putin is shrugging off the potential for new sanctions and tariffs. CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis joins us now from the State Department with more on this. Good morning, Olivia. How significant is this claim of Indian components in Russian drones? After all, the two are longtime allies.
Absolutely, Errol. Good morning. It's notable, but it's not shocking. It's notable because it is a very concrete indication that these Indian-made dual-use components are making their way to Russia for use in its wartime effort. Dual-use items are, of course, things like microchips that could be used in run-of-the-mill appliances and computers or in things like drones. By the way, China has been accused by the Ukrainians and by the U.S. of doing the same. It's not shocking because we already know that India, like China, has been backing Russia's war effort indirectly by making big, sustained purchases of Russian oil. So this is clearly an effort by the Ukrainians to name and shame the Indian government, to try to discourage future sending of these components, potentially to initiate intervention by third parties like Europe or the U.S. But given the Indian government has already indicated that no amount of U.S. pressure at the moment is going to change its decision to continue those purchases of Russian oil, it's very unlikely that curbing these exports of dual-use items, which is already difficult to enforce, will be met with any teeth.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the link between India and Russia later this hour when it comes to the economy. Stay tuned for that. I want to ask you about some military equipment that Ukraine could soon receive, because Denmark, Norway, Sweden announced this funding of a $500 million package. It's of U.S. equipment and munitions to Ukraine as part of a new NATO-led initiative. Help explain that.
Sure. So this initiative is what was announced by President Trump and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House last month with great enthusiasm that NATO nations were going to be making weapons purchases from the U.S. with the ultimate goal of on-passing them or their existing supplies to Ukraine for use in the war. The great enthusiasm was followed by a period of confusion because it wasn't immediately clear whether there was any uptake by NATO members. Nobody had initially signed on. Countries like France, in fact, indicated that they preferred to invest in their own defense production capabilities rather than continuing to make these American weapons purchases. So it's notable that now there is this $500 million investment by a group of countries. Maybe it galvanizes others to do the same. And as you've pointed out, speed is of the essence. So the Ukrainians are hanging on every word that goes in support of this new mechanism.
I bet. Those Russian attacks seem to be getting bigger as they continue. Olivia Gazis, thank you so much. Great to see you.